All righty, welcome to Weekend Wrap-Up Show here on Shelbyville Now. It is November 30th, 2024. I'm David Thomas. This is Mr. Josh Blevins. Josh, looks like you had a busy week. Got out and had some events to take place and some
Not as
meetings.
busy as normal. We had a little bit of a holiday where I sat around and watched football and ate turkey, so that kind of slowed things down. Normally there'd be meetings on a Thursday,
But Tuesday was busy.
Tuesday was busy. Everybody
Yeah.
crammed it all into one day. So
Yeah, we want to thank our sponsor, Dennis Young Insurance, and we're going to let you dive into this as soon as we get back after we hear a word from Dennis.
absolutely.
With the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
All righty, welcome back to the weekend wrap up. Josh, we hit the button twice and we're up there for just a few seconds and the live stream started and it stopped and we restarted. So if you see us on the screen twice, it's not double vision.
No, technology's great when it works.
Yeah,
so.
And when it doesn't, it's
still
not,
great.
I guess. All right, Josh, Tuesday, you had a busy day. Why don't you go over some of the things that happened with the county?
I'm going to mess you up completely, and we're going to jump down to the bottom real quick and just say that today is Small Business Saturday, and you had an interesting post that didn't go on Shelbyville Now yesterday. It was on your personal page where you mentioned the fact that small businesses right now are struggling, and if nothing else, part of it is to do with the Amazon effect and big chains and the Walmart. And why don't you just get into a little bit of, you run a small business, I run a small business. What's going on in the small business
Here's the
world?
thing. You hear a lot of comments, and there was a lot of comments on my personal post. Actually, what happened is Amazon delivered a package to here at our location.
Right.
And I just threw it down, took a picture of it, and said, this is what's killing small business.
Right.
They're this monstrosity, and people don't realize that Amazon is more of a consignment shop than it is a retail outlet. Most of the products you're getting are coming from resellers that are smaller businesses, which that's a good thing, that are listed with Amazon, but Amazon charges a fortune to these people. Amazon does house products in their warehousing, which is a huge retailer. They started out selling books years ago. We all know the story of how it grew to this giant, but they have primarily grown their business with the sale of their stock.
Yeah.
They sell their stock, they take and just expand with that money. And they don't make money on their retail part. They make all their money on their web services, which keeps them afloat. If you see any kind of profit, that's where it's coming from, the electronic side, and they sell their data to the federal government. Okay. Small businesses are competing with a giant like that. Small business in the city of Shelbyville, there's usually a family involved, or maybe two families, or an individual that throws their whole life, all their finances, and most of the time they go in debt. They try to provide a service or product at the local level because they want to serve the local community. They would like to make a living. Well, in Shelbyville and Bedford County, we have a lot of these businesses that have been around a long time. I can think back of all the businesses that I grew up going into. One of them was Martin and Price Hardware Store. One of them was in the Martin and Price Hardware Store. You could go buy a bicycle. Right. You could go buy your first gun to hunt with. You could go up there and buy kitchen appliances, pots and pans, you name it. They were not just a hardware store. They were a variety store that you could buy anything. They had a massive amount of pocket knives. They had sporting goods. They had all types of stuff.
That sounds like that when their handy dandy market down there too.
But this one was like huge.
This was even bigger.
It was like, it was really big.
Yeah.
All right. And it was on the corner of the square, right across from the Norton office, right there on down that road down there on the corner.
Yeah.
And it was just an awesome place to go. And that went away when Walmart showed up.
Right.
You had a Western Auto store here. You could buy your bicycles. You could buy little mini scooters, all the types of things that kids love to go and shop and just big adults, big kids too, go in. But they were just neat places where you would go and shop. Walmart came in, and of course, that's the giant big box store that's dominated the whole country.
Right.
It basically took those businesses out.
Yeah.
Now it's difficult. And I saw comments like, well, you don't have variety here. You never have what you want. Well, these business owners have to decide, do we expand our inventory out and just not take a paycheck?
Right.
Or do we risk it and throw more inventory, build our inventory out, and we have to buy so many pieces to get a better price and even make a better price for our customers? And then how many of those are we going to sell? It's usually a handful. Right. And you're left with inventory. So it is a balancing act by all these folks. And guess who sponsors the Little League ball and the junior pro basketball and the soccer teams? All these small businesses. How many Lowe's teams have you seen? Yeah. How many Walmart teams have you seen? You don't see them. Right. But these are people that live in our community that we go to church with, that we're friends with, and we turn our back on them.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's difficult.
Yeah. So the point of bringing it up was today is Small Business Saturday. So we've got businesses all over town, as you know, Bell Buckle, War Trays, all over. Their focus is to try to get people in the door. I know it's too easy to sit at home in your pajamas and click and buy something off Amazon that shows up at your door, but at least put in a little bit of effort to go out and try to, visit these mom and pop shops. They're going to have stuff that, is unique that you may not have even thought of getting as a Christmas present or whatever. I was just at Shovel Pizza last night, and I came across a new business just opened this week right next door to the Capri, and they're selling, Star Wars and, kind of geek gear and Funko collectible kind of stuff. And they've got a place for table games and stuff. That's the kind of small business that we need to be out there supporting instead of just going on Amazon and buying that stuff. And I realize you can get it for a few dollars cheaper on Amazon. That's the thing.
I mean, here's a question for you. Do you want to walk in a store locally and buy a $25 item and experience that, getting to go to that store and seeing it firsthand before you buy it and supporting somebody local, a local family? Or do you want to buy it on Amazon for $21.95? Sit back in your lounge, in your recliner, and wait for the guy in the truck with the swish on the side of it to bring it and leave it sitting at your door, even on Sundays. Okay, we're spoiled. I get it, but would you spend just a couple extra dollars to support somebody local? Yeah, it seems like it would be the right thing to do.
It is, and I'll be honest, I'm the worst. I'll go into Barnes & Noble and look at a book, and I'll pull up Amazon and see how cheap it is on Amazon. And you need to just pull the trigger sometimes. Yeah. It's not worth a couple dollars. So, but we would just encourage you to get out, shop local, shop small today. There's, like I said, there's businesses all over. There's a tent set up on the square, the First Community Bank, where they've got the little handouts that show you all the different stores that are participating today. And it would just be a good way to get out to support your friends and neighbors.
I would like to say this too, Josh. I challenge everybody to Christmas shop this year. Do at least 50% of your Christmas shopping with a local business. Yeah. And that don't mean go to Walmart and buy 25 gift cards from all these big chains that don't affect our local economy. That's not shopping local. Yeah. That means you're going into a store that actually is owned by somebody here. And we could list a whole lot of them. But there's so many. Everybody knows who they are.
Yeah, and we'd leave somebody off and they'd be offended. Yeah, so we won't. Yeah. But they're you know who they are. So, just wanted to lead with that because that is today, and that's going on all day, all over town, all over the county. So, just get out and shop local. But going into our regular news rundown, Tuesday evening we had the County Financial Management Committee met, and we got an update on the solid waste contract. They finally came to an agreement. The organization that we're a part of, which I'm not remembering the name, that's not important. They came to agreement of they're going to pay for the next so many years $58.86 a ton, plus a 2% step increase every year. What that breaks down to in dollars and cents is when the new budget comes out for the county next year, we got to come up with another $250,000 in taxpayer money to dispose of the trash that we're expecting for next year. So we knew it was coming. They'd been in negotiations, and they finally reached some kind of agreement. At least they know the numbers. So now they can start.
When you break it down per taxpayer, it's not a huge amount of money.
Not a huge amount, but that's still,
up.
$250,000 is $250,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd like to have $250,000 in my hand right now.
Yeah,
so, yeah. Just saying. They also, the county received a TDEC grant to buy some new recycling compactors and boxes where they're going to be able to collect more recyclable materials now. And something they've been asked for a long time, they're in talks with a company that Williamson County has started using for glass recycling. So it looks like very soon, if things work out right, there will be a bin at El Bethel will be the first trial, it sounded like from what they said. And they will be able to accept glass. It can be mixed. It doesn't have to be separated out. It does have to be clean. And I'm sure the county will announce that as soon as that's ready. But I know that's something people have been asking for a while because we've had no way to recycle glass at all inside the county. So that will be good. We got our monthly construction update, and not to beat a dead horse, but we'll just bring this up again. We passed a funding mechanism back in May for 5 projects, I believe.
The bundle,
and 4 of those projects on the construction update: surplus building, still working on final plans; juvenile center, still discussing the guaranteed maximum price, haven't come up with a price; soil conservation office, waiting on additional funding for the grinder pump that they found out they had to relocate after they started doing their due diligence. And the gun range is still in the design phase. So 4 out of 5 of the items that we borrowed money for back in the summer, we still don't even have a price on them. So
I thought we were ready to start digging.
We're not ready to start digging.
So the only thing that we're really working on is the school.
Yeah. The only
Which
one
was already ready to go at that
It was already ready to go. So we saved interest supposedly by borrowing early. But since we borrowed that money, I believe the Fed interest rates dropped twice at least in that time period. So,
wow.
Then the last item of note that I found in the reports was that sales tax revenue for this year, which we're very early in, we've only gathered 3 months of data, but we're already $634,000 ahead of last year on sales tax revenue. So that's good.
Okay, question for you, Josh. Where does the sales tax revenue go?
The very large percentage of it in the county goes into debt service. Between 68 and 70% of our sales tax revenue that it hits the county goes into the debt service account. 20 some odd percent goes to schools directly into the 141 account. And then a tiny little percentage, like 5 or 6%, goes into the general fund. So the majority of that's going into the debt service fund, where it'll enter the fund balance, where it will help us earn interest.
But this is an increase.
This is an increase over last year. So yeah, so sales tax is running ahead, which means, overall sales dollars are running ahead, but you could also say that could be inflation based.
Absolutely.
Prices are up.
They're going to keep going up, I'm afraid, even though Donald Trump was elected.
Yeah.
I think we're still going to see some.
And we've got new people moved into the county too. So, population keeps growing. The more people you got, the more money you're spending in theory. So, same day, Tuesday, we had the City Planning Commission, which we knew ahead of time this was going to be a big one. It was a big agenda. It was, 3 pages, I believe. Right at the get-go, we had a full council chamber. It was also pretty full. I didn't spend a lot of time out in the foyer, but I believe it was full in the foyer as well, because there were several controversial items on the agenda. They had a full slate of public comments ahead of time. Oddly enough, nobody in the public comments was for anything on the agenda. There was nobody speaking positive. Everybody was against something. After the public comment period, we got a mention from the chairman of the Planning Commission. Said he got a call from Doobie Mallard, and Shelbyville Power is expecting to receive an approval from TDEC on December 3rd, which is this coming Tuesday, on their application, and they think they're going to receive a permit to withdraw, his wording was 10 point some odd million gallons of water per day from the Duck River.
10 point something.
10 point something, and 10.2, 10.5, he didn't really
Less than 11.
Less than 11.
Somewhere
more
between
than
10 and
somewhere
11.
between 10 and 11 million gallons a day. So it'll be interesting if that's published on Tuesday to see, A, what the top line number is, and then B, is there a second lower number, because the original permit that they were looking at receiving had a different lower number per day if we were in drought conditions, which is where we're at currently.
Right.
And that was measured by, there's a particular meter where they measure water flow somewhere in the river, right outside.
This is just something to speculate. I know this is good for Bedford County or
Yeah.
for the city, I guess, since we're talking about the city, it's for the city.
Right.
My question is, I know that every other community on Duck River has asked for an increase.
They have. Yeah.
Some have been denied. Some have been even rolled back. I know Marshall County rolled back.
Yeah.
So they had to put a moratorium on future development. I don't know how that stands there. I don't know how Columbia is. I don't know how Centerville on upstream. So if everybody gets an increase, get what they asked for, because this whole entire region is getting more population that will be dependent on that water supply.
Right.
At some point, when do we just suck it dry?
I don't know. That's my question. But last week we covered the executive order that came from the governor,
right?
And he asked TDEC and this new foundation or group or whatever you want to call it that he set up to try to conserve water. So it seems like TDEC's going the other way if they're giving them what they're asking for. So it'll be interesting to see how they balance that, allowing increases while at the same time asking for conservation. So
I don't know, Josh. This is one of the main issues. When you mentioned you talk about people there and they were against everything, one of the big issues and big concerns for those people is water. Water and traffic are the two biggest things.
Yeah, one of the big speeches was Mr. Teague, who works at the ag extension. He brought the governor's executive order, and he also brought the drought map showing that we're currently in extreme drought and have been for quite a while, actually, on and off the last couple of years, just saying, hey, this is what the governor's asking. This is where we're at in drought conditions. Why are we continuing to just build without any, thought to conserving? So it's definitely, I think, on a lot of people's minds, and we'll have to see. In addition to what he said there, I'm also remembering in January, the Planning Commission is going to have an extra hour. The January meeting, we're going to meet at 5 instead of 6. And Shelbyville Power is going to give a presentation on where things are at currently with the water system, where they feel it's at from their end. And probably we'll go into what this permit is and, where they feel like the numbers are at. And hopefully we'll get to ask them questions at that. So,
okay.
Yeah. So that'll be something to look forward to. As far as actual items on the agenda, the Remington Farms PUD, which is the old swing property, was deferred once again till January 2025, despite the fact that at last month's meeting, they had a motion that was approved that said they couldn't defer it. They had to either withdraw it or send it on up to the city council. They backtracked on that and went back to deferral. So it's
based on, why are they deferring it? A state traffic study?
TDOT. They're still in discussions with TDOT. The people behind this PUD didn't get the answer they wanted from TDOT. So they tried to go over the guy's head at TDOT and talk to the manager. They did the old, well, you won't give me what I want. Let me talk to your manager trick. The manager gave them the same story that the guy they were talking to did. So they're back now talking to the regular guy, and they've got to come to some kind of agreement before they're even allowed to.
Well, the facts are the facts. So, it's a numbers game.
Yeah, it's a numbers of as far as TDOT's concerned, their only numbers they care about are a set of particular intersections on the TDOT highway.
Right.
What a lot of the neighbors care about is Cloverdale and what happens there. TDOT, I mean, not in their purview. They're not even looking at that. Right. They're looking at where Cloverdale hits 41A. Right. They're looking at where Jennings Lane hits 41A. They're looking at where Mack Street, and they're looking at where Colorado hits 41A.
All that water is running to the same stream, Josh.
Right.
And it's 41A.
41A.
It's catching it. So all of these little roads that everybody has concerns about end up on 41A, or they take a backtrack and hit somewhere else.
Right.
But the majority of it is going to 41A.
Yeah. Which has 2 lanes. Last time I drove down it, which was a couple minutes ago. Yeah.
It's 4 lanes. I see 4 lanes, expansion there, traffic lights at some of those critical places. At some point,
traffic lights.
And it don't happen overnight, and it's not on the future plans anytime soon.
No, it's not in TDOT's plans at the moment. We're in the middle of a corridor study between the city, the county, and TDOT on 41A and 231. They may bring some recommendations out of that corridor study, but those will just be recommendations that'll then have to be turned into TDOT and show up on a plan at some point.
So this is turning into a process of, it's just going to be a marathon. It looks like, to get to some resolution on this.
Right.
Do you see this happening in the next 6 months, or are we going to be talking about this time next year that it got deferred, Josh?
I'm hoping they make some kind of movement in January. So from what I've heard from planning, I mean, from the city side of things, which I'm in the city, I mean, the easy solution is to cut down on the number of rooftops in the neighborhood, which cuts down on the number of cars, which cuts down on the traffic impact. From the developer side, he's saying, I want those number of rooftops because that gives me the maximum profit on the job.
Well,
and I've got high expenses. And so that's your back and forth there. And then the people caught in the middle, I mean, the most in the middle are the people in Cloverdale in that neighborhood, because they're literally in the middle. They're between 41A and the neighborhood, and they're the ones that have the traffic impact on their street where they live. And,
you're talking about building a city, a small town.
Three.
What you're talking about.
3 cities. We did the math at one time. If you take every other incorporated city in Bedford County, which is outside of Shelbyville,
Bell Buckle, Ward
Trace, and Normandy, take all 3 of those, double the size. That's how many people you're going to put in that one
This
spot.
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
At all.
So
I don't know why we're still talking about it, Josh. I really don't.
It's been a full year. It's been a full year, and we're going to be talking about it into next year. So we'll see where it goes. But it seems like January planning meeting is going to be the big one on that one, and surely they won't try to defer it past then, because there's a lot of people I know on the planning commission that are not happy with the number of deferrals it's already received. So I mean, at that point, we're at 13 months, 14 months. I mean, it was December 2023 was the first time it was deferred. Right. So it's been going on a while. So another one that got negative public comment but got approved at this meeting was Claxton Estates, 73 homes on Brown Lane. I believe there's 2 or 3 accesses to Brown Lane, 1 access at the backside of the neighborhood to Richdale Lane, all of which feeds only one place, which is Fairfield Pike, which is already, not in great shape traffic-wise. And even though there were a couple votes against, it ended up 6-2 being approved. This is property that was already properly zoned, so this approval is it. It's a done deal. Right. This doesn't go back to city council. City council has no say when it's already been zoned.
What you're going to be doing, if it's going to Brown Lane, it's going to end up on Fairfield Pike.
Everything's
the only way to Fairfield. That's 400 more cars coming to Fairfield Pike in a relatively short time, because 73 homes, they'll throw those things up so fast it'll make your head spin, and you're going to have 400 more cars hitting the Cartwright Elementary traffic.
Yes. Now I don't know where you're getting the 400 number. 73 homes.
73 homes. I'm averaging 3. That's 219 people, and on 219 people, you're going to have. Everybody's got 2 cars these days, Josh.
I guess.
No, you're going to have. You're probably going to have 250 cars.
Okay.
Additional traffic.
The only thing that they are going to require is after phase 3, I believe it is, which is at that point they've built most of the neighborhood, 40 some homes. I think 42 is the number. They're going to have to do a new traffic study, and they're expecting at that point the traffic study is going to show that they're going to have to add either 1 or 2 turn lanes on Fairfield Pike. So, which is not a big difference, but it will help some at those 2 intersections. They think there'll have to be a left turn lane from Fairfield Pike onto Brown Lane, and possibly a left turn onto Richdale. But those will only be required if the traffic study shows they're required. Right. So that's just a guess at this point on everybody's part. So another thing approved at the meeting, the overall Preserve at Lexington Cove PUD had been approved, but they actually brought the first stage of both parts of it, the first phase, I guess it's called, plats, and that got approved, which that's the first 39 single-family homes and 17 cottages, which are condos that are just not connected. And that, again, is that mainly feeds out onto 41A, so there's just a few more houses going out 41A there. And then we had 3 rezonings to higher density from low density or from medium density, trying to get up to high density.
We're doing everything we can, Josh, to just cram everything in that small
We're getting more
spaces.
Density. Yep. So on these 3, Archery Lane, planning had already recommended it be unfavorable. The planning commission agreed with the planning department. So that one's going to the city council with an unfavorable recommendation. I'll be voting on that one personally in December. And then we had Barksdale Lane / Whitthorne, which was already turned down by the city council last month or the month before to R4. So they brought it back at R3A, which is still multifamily, slightly smaller number of units. That came out favorable with a split vote, 7-1.
Not much of a split.
Not much of a split.
Was there anybody there speaking?
Oh, there was a lot of talk, and not a lot of positive talk.
What did planning say about this beforehand?
They recommended favorable on the ones that went through, and the commission.
I'm talking about the department, not the.
Yeah, the department did.
They did too. Okay, so are they going to reconfigure the road there, or
they're going to reconfigure that one intersection where Whitthorne runs into Barksdale, where it's a weird intersection? They're going to work. The developer with Shelbyville Power is going to work together and fix that intersection. So. But that doesn't fix some of the other issues, which is Barksdale has that weird, crazy road coming up from Madison. It's narrow.
It's wide. It's big enough for one car. If two cars meet, you basically have to go off the edge of the road. So they're going to have to widen all that.
They're going to have to work on that. You've got the crime issue that's going on there on Barksdale, where the number of police calls there is crazy because I hear them on the radio every day, all day.
How marketable is this going to be in that location? Somebody's taking a big risk here.
Yeah, you would think, but there were different times it's been discussed, maybe doing some Airbnb in there longer term. I don't know I don't know that I want Airbnb there, but that's been some of the discussion.
Okay.
And then the last one was a piece of property on Dover Street, and it to me didn't seem as controversial. It was just from R1 to R2, small parcel, and that one was even more of a split vote. It passed, but it was 5-3. So all three of those will be on the December City Council agenda because they are rezonings, which is a changing of the law on the property. It's not just administrative, it's actually legislative. So the council has to approve those. They have to approve those twice, actually, for them to happen.
First reading and second reading.
First and second. Okay. So first reading will be in December. We'll see where those go. And then just something I wanted to bring up that was on the agenda. A lot of it got deferred because it wasn't quite ready. But if you know where Tate Avenue runs into Elm, it's called Elm there. It's also called Union there. It's really, that's about where the road changes names. There's some empty parcels there that are owned by the Housing Authority.
Yeah.
And the part that faces Union/Elm, they're going to rezone that commercial and sell that off.
A lot of it sits down in a hole there, too. So it'll have to be built
It'll have to be built up. Right. And then the part that's actually on Tate, the plan is hopefully they're going to make some money off the part they sell off to commercial, and they're going to build some more housing on Tate there. It's going to be more senior focused, I believe, from what I've heard, but it's going to be more Shelbyville Housing Authority housing on Tate, and they're going to use the property on Elm/Union to help pay for that. So, and they didn't get to the point where they voted on it because there was some confusion on how the parcels were subdivided, and it's ended up being pushed to next month's agenda as far as an actual vote, but it's one that not controversial. I think we'll go through just so people know what's going on that intersection. Other than that, that's all I had on my rundown. Just a couple, maybe one other thing, maybe two if they come to my mind. But one that I wanted to mention because we've talked about it very extensively, Duxon.
Right.
There was an interview that the city manager did recently that not everybody may have heard, and I got the same information on an email this week, which is that they have passed all of their state requirements at the Duxon plant. There are two very minor city things that have to be cleared up, but I would say they'll be getting a certificate of occupancy very soon. So,
Josh, is there any news on when it's going to become operational? Other than occupied is one thing, but gearing up and producing the acid is another thing.
I mean, they seem like they thought they had customers and stuff lined up. So I would say as soon as they're ready to go, I would say they're going to start going. So,
okay, so the talk is in market news.
Yeah,
is a lot of your EV companies are scaling back. I know Ford is cut. They've like eliminated their truck project.
Right.
There's a place over in Spring Hill that was gearing up to do EV batteries. That shuttered and canceled. Yeah. And you hear about 50% of all these battery factories are scaling back or shutting down completely, going in a different direction. That mandate that we had by every electric vehicle by 2035, I think it's probably going to vanish into sunlight.
That'll vanish in the new administration.
Yeah, it's going to turn into a vapor.
So as will a lot of these tax credits, I think.
These tax credits is paying for all these private businesses are going away.
Yeah, those are going away.
They're gone. Yeah. Okay, and a lot of, never mind.
Yeah.
But my question to you is do you think that there's an alternative that can go into that building? Let's say if the EV batteries gets delayed, because I see it down the road in the future of being something possible. And who knows what else could come up, hydrogen power or whatever. Is there any potential hope for a 100,000 square foot building in Bedford County in an industrial park that could be used for something alternative?
Building, from what I hear, and I've not been inside it, just from people that I've spoken with that have been in it, it was very purpose built for this particular, those chemical tanks that you see on the outside. It's got a special nitrogen pumping system that all that stuff that moves throughout that facility, there's nitrogen instead of oxygen, which is the way part of the fire suppression. So you don't have a fire, you don't have oxygen with all these flammable chemicals. So I would say that building is built for one use and one use only. I'd be shocked if you could do much, without a lot of money.
I hope we get her 200 jobs.
Yeah.
I hope that company is successful here because it needs to be a success for Bedford County.
Yeah, the county could use it for sure. And we gave them a lot of tax incentives to come here.
And I hope we never have an accident. But if it does, I hope our hospital has that evacuation plan in place, and I hope our jail figures out what they're going to do with the inmates in the case of an emergency. And I know right now it's a hopeless cause.
Yeah. So we'll at this point, it's going forward. It's nothing's going to stop it at this point.
Yeah, well, I hope we get those 200 employees, Bedford County employees.
Employees would be good. Employees would be good. Well, high-paying employees,
very high-paying.
Yeah. Another side note that didn't even happen to me, just something I got this morning, and I'll be talking about this more probably at the study session this coming week, which is it looks like the city fire department is going to make a move to go to these new TACAN radios, which the county has gone to. And I think I may have even talked about them last week, or if not, it was just talking to you on the phone. I had a chance to see one of these radios. It couldn't have been last week because I saw one at the finance meeting on Tuesday night. Our county fire chief had one show me, kind of how it works and what's going on with those. And it's a great system. The problem is it's an expensive system. And the county got it because they got that massive COVID-related grant.
Yeah, it's about a $5.5 million project.
Yeah, it was a huge grant. And that's what the city's looking at. City's looking at also buying it through a grant. The downside, and what I want to have more conversation with, and I'm sure our fire chief will be there, and we'll talk about at the meeting, is all of these radios are drastically more expensive than our current radios. So I know fire is not as bad as police. With police, every officer has to have a radio. And these radios are thousands of dollars from what I've heard.
Yeah, so, compared to hundreds.
So when you bring a new police officer on board now at the county level, you've got a much higher equipment cost because these radios are so expensive. So even though it's nice to get the grant on the front end, we just got to make sure that we don't tie our hands on the back end to where we're spending a bunch of money on new radios all the time. So just something to look at, something I'll be looking at when that presentation happens at the study session. But other than that, let's hear from our sponsor one more time, and we'll go into the upcoming week and what we got to look forward to.
All right.
So.
With the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
All righty, welcome back to the weekend wrap up, and we're about ready to wrap up. Josh, tell us what's going on this coming week.
Just a reminder, Small Business Saturday going on right now. Get out and shop at small businesses. Tuesday, the Christmas extravaganza on the square. Starts at 3 o'clock, goes till 9 o'clock. Looks like the tree lighting part of it, we put the whole schedules on I've got it pinned at the top of our Facebook. Yeah. I believe the main tree lighting part was in the 6 to 6:30 range. That's going to include fireworks. There's going to be live music. There's going to be live reindeer just wandering around the square or something.
Oh, really?
I'm imagining they're going to have tied up. But there's supposed to be live reindeer. Early on, there's a mariachi band doing Christmas music. We got all the restaurants around the square are going to have different food items and drinks, and it's going to be cold, bundle up. But the weather other than that is looking good. I'm not seeing any precipitation in the forecast. So this should be a great thing. Primary shuttle service. There's no parking on the square. The square actually gets closed off completely, I believe, at 1 o'clock. Primary parking for people coming to attend is the parking lot in front of the Goodwill,
Big
Planet
Spring Shopping
Fitness.
Center.
Yep, they will have a shuttle that will take you from there up to the square and back. If you need to be dropped off, look on the post on our Facebook as well. There's a couple corners of the square that you can pull a car up to and just drop somebody off, but there's no parking available there.
Right.
So definitely one you're not going to want to miss. And they've been working all the past week. They've had the big lift up there putting greenery and lights and stuff all over the courthouse. So they didn't get the fancy rainbow lights you're waiting on in time. So they hung just regular Christmas lights.
Man, I was looking forward to that thing lit up green at $278,000 light
looking
bulb.
for the fancy lights, but the fancy lights weren't ready. So we went with, just the normal Christmas light company, and they've hung them all over it. It looks like it's going to look great. So it looks like it's going to be a really good event. So looking forward to that. And then the only actual meeting that, as far as I know, that I'll be attending this week will be Thursday, 6 o'clock, City Council study session. We've talked a lot about stuff that's going to be on there, primarily stuff that I'll be looking for because I'll have to vote on it the following week will be the 3 rezonings that came through from the Planning Commission. And then now it looks like this TAC and radio. I'll just have some questions on that. I'm sure that'll work itself out. And then there's a lot of other smaller items, but as usual, I'll be there. I'll be paying attention. We'll talk about them next week.
One thing, Shelbyville now will be covering the Christmas parade, which is next Saturday, and we'll have our show before
in the morning.
We have that morning before the parade. But I want to just let everybody know that we will be live streaming
4 o'clock,
hopefully in high definition.
Hopefully, yes.
And we will have Mr. Neil Gordon along with Tina Corley. They will be our commentators, MCs. They will keep things lively, I promise. And it will be fun. If you're not able to get out, you'll make sure to want to tune in on Shelbyville Now on the website or right here on Facebook or YouTube. We'll be live streaming at all 3 places. So we look forward to doing that.
Yep, that was fun last year, and it'll be even more fun this year. Yeah. Hopefully the picture will be clear.
Our primary sponsor of that live stream will be Lowry Jewelers.
Yep.
Which right now they're having a big sale going on with their retirement sale going on. So you want to get out and check those folks out. And Josh, I guess that's everything we've got going on.
That's all I can think of. I'm sure there'll be more stuff that'll come out of left field. It always does. Although we're in the holidays, things have been a little calmer. I'm hoping we stay in the calm mode and there's nothing crazy in the news. That's, that'd be preferable. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, thanks again for all your hard work.